Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sky Observers Hangout. We are so glad you are all with us this evening. My name is Michelle, and I'm the Director of Public Observing at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago. And I have a friend joining me tonight, and my friend is ...
It's me. Hi, everyone. I am Adriana, and I am the astronomy educator at the Adler. We've got some other friends joining us tonight, too. Behind the scenes, we have our YouTube chat moderator, Colleen, and answering questions in the chat is our astronomer friend, Geza. So if you see the Adler's name highlighted in yellow, that's Colleen. And when you see a name with a blue wrench next to it in the chat, that is Geza helping us by answering your questions and comments. So ask away tonight.
Yes, please do. Now, Sky Observers Hangout is a place for us to gather together to nerd out about the sky. Our goal is to give you practical tips that you can find useful about lots of things related to sky observing. If you want to just watch us, that is perfectly fine. We would love to see you ask your questions and put your observations into the chat. Feel free to interact with us and with each other.
Yes, we absolutely love hearing from you guys. So to get this show started, tell us in the chat where you guys are tuning in from if you haven't already. And as an added bonus, tell us if you have a favorite place to watch the sunrise or the sunset.
And while you do that, I must tell you, while the Adler Planetarium's doors must remain closed, we're doing our best to keep our virtual doors open by creating and sharing some out of this world content for you. If you wouldn't mind, use the link that Colleen is going to put into the chat in just a sec to donate what you feel comfortable to contribute to our programming. If you missed the link, it's also in the description for the program, so you can check it out there. Thank you so much for allowing us to keep sharing our universe with you.
Yes. And you can help us get more visibility for our shows by hitting the subscribe button for the Adler Planetarium's YouTube channel right below this video. If you like us, you can go ahead and give us a thumbs up as well. So let's go ahead and see where you guys are tuning in from and where you enjoy watching sunrise or sunset. We have friends from cool, Westchester. Oh, hi, John.
Hi, John.
Hillside, Albany Park. Hello, friends. We've also got, oh, hello, friend from Michigan. That's exciting. And as for where people like watching the sunrise, oh, these are some good ones. Over Lake Michigan for the sunrise. Greetings from Belmont Harbor. That is also a good place to watch the sunrise. A lot of answers, people from Chicago saying that they are thinking about the lakefront trail as the best place for the sunrise, which I cannot disagree with you there.
Do you have any other favorite place that you like to watch the sunrise or sunset from?
I mean, it just doesn't get better than watching it rise over the lake. I just can't.
True. That's true. Those of you who aren't in the Chicago area, if you ever come to Chicago, just remember the lake is always to the east. So yeah, just go down to the lake, and if you get to see the sun rise just right out of the water, it's really, really cool. What else do you have?
Awesome. Avery and Brent are going to see the sunrise over the Grand Canyon this summer and are so excited. I am so excited for you. That sounds like it'll be beautiful.
Oh, Avery and Brent, when are you going? Tell us in the chat. When are you going? Like which week or dates are you going? I'm very curious. I'm curious if you're going like for the Perseid meteor shower or anything like that. So let us know.
Yeah, you might catch something exciting while you're there.
Yes, that'd be cool. Actually, you'll catch dark. No matter what, you'll see meteors where it's dark. So that's great. Hi, Brent and Avery. It's great to have you with us again. We've got some friends out there.
Excellent.
I personally
sunset from Palmisano Nature Park.
Palmisano Park. Yeah, that is a great place.
Awesome. All right, so I'm glad you guys are all here with us. I'm going to go ahead and get into it. We are talking about Chicagohenge tonight. For those of you who are not from the Chicago area, and we know you guys are out there, we probably need to explain what we mean by Chicagohenge. Chicagohenge is just our name for what happens every year during the spring and fall equinoxes in the city. The rising and setting sun lines up just right with our east-west city streets, allowing us to see sunrise and sunset between the tall city buildings. So it lines up and it's a really beautiful sight to see. In many of the surrounding suburbs, this can also happen because the entire area was built on a north-south, east-west grid system. So if you live in a place with east-west city streets, then this is a phenomenon for you too. It's not just for Chicago.
Yep. Now let's talk more about why this happens. So most folks have heard that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. And that's true, sort of. On the spring equinox, the sun does rise due east and the sun does set due west. So I'm going to share some imagery, some screenshots that we took from a program called Starry Night. And it is a great resource to be able to dial up the sky for whatever day of the year and whatever location you want. So here I've got the sun. As you can see, it's sunrise, and don't worry about exactly where that little E is. It's not necessarily exactly at due east. It's just a label. But you can see I've got it dialed up for the spring equinox this year, which is on March 20th. And each day after March 20th, the sun rises a little bit more to the northeast and sets a little bit more to the northwest. And if I step through, there we go. So this is April 20th. So you can see the sunrise location. This is again from Chicago. And then May 20th, all right? And the sun reaches its most northerly point of sunrise and sunset on the day of the summer solstice. After the summer solstice, the sun's rising and setting points move farther south. So we're going to go here. We've got July 20th, August 20th. Then we've got back to the fall equinox, all right? After the fall or on the day of the fall equinox, the sun again rises due east, sets due west. And then after that, the sunrise moves a little more southeast. By the way, don't get too excited. I know Starry Night is showing a comet right there in a screen. Don't get excited. There's not expected to be any major comet this year. That I have no idea why it's actually showing that. So I saw that myself. I'm like, comet? No,
Maybe it's a dramatic lens flare.
Well, no, it was some comet that I've never heard of. So whatever. Anyway,
okay.
November 20th. And then we get to the winter solstice and the sun, that's the sun rising at its most southerly point. And then after that winter solstice date, it starts going back to the north till we get back to the spring equinox. So this cycle repeats every year and the sun rises due east on the spring equinox yet again. Now I'm going to switch because a lot of times, in Chicago might be cloudy on the day of the spring equinox. We get asked a question a lot. What do I do if I want to see Chicagohenge, but it's not right on the day of the spring equinox? You actually can see this phenomenon even up to maybe 2-3 few days after the spring equinox. So I'm going to do a different share here. So hang on. I'm going to actually switch over to Starry Night. Just need to find it. There we go. There's Starry Night. And I've got this dialed up for sunrise on March 23rd. And you can see that the sun is rising a little bit to the northeast. But I'm going to step forward by 1 minute. And whoops. There we go. And by the way, that little thing right there, it's Venus. It's actually showing that you're not going to see Venus in the sky there. So don't worry. Anyway, I've got the sun, the altitude of the sun a few minutes after sunrise on up to March 23rd. That's 1 degree up. So you will see it within the building canyons. So if you're due on an east-west street, you're looking due east, even up to like March 23rd, March 24th, the sun is still just a little bit above the horizon, and you'll get that same Chicagohenge effect. So still good to see if you can't see it exactly on the equinox. Now, if you are interested in photographing this phenomenon on an east-west street, the spring equinox is on March 20th. So March 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. You can actually go ahead and give it a try. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here, Adriana. So, all right, go ahead.
Cool. I just want to, for anybody who is joining us right now, and also Betsy, who I see in the chat, Chicagohenge is just the phenomenon where the sun is going to line up with the east-west streets at sunrise or sunset. So it'll just create a really cool effect where you'll be able to see the sun between the tall buildings of the city, or if you have east-west streets where you are, right down the street. All right.
So it could be Aurora. It could be Aurora Henge. It could be
Aurora
Westchester
Henge, yeah.
Henge. It could be Evanston Henge, or wherever you're from Henge. As long as you've got an east-west street, you're good.
Exactly. So if you are trying to observe it, just go ahead and look up the time of sunrise or sunset for your specific location and get set up on an east-west facing street about 10 minutes before sunrise or 10 minutes before sunset. If you aren't sure when those times are for your area, many of the weather apps on your phone, weather websites, and the time and date website can go ahead and tell you when sunrise and sunset are going to happen. For specific information about photographing Chicagohenge around the equinoxes or for places facing other directions at other times of year, you can check out the September 21st, 2020 episode of Sky Observers Hangout, also titled Chicagohenge. We will put the link to that episode in the chat in just a bit. I think Colleen is going to help us out there.
Yep. So if you want to photograph it, check out that one. This episode is really focusing on, sorry, pun not intended, really focusing on the phenomenon behind it, why this actually happens. But also we're going to talk a bit about some artworks in just a second. But I do want to give you one word of warning. Just be very careful whenever you are going out with the goal of maybe observing the sun. Never focus your eyesight directly on the sun. If you want to see the sun directly, get a pair of those safe solar viewing glasses. If you want to focus it, just don't focus your camera directly on the sun. Be careful with your eyesight, be careful with your equipment. By the way, a really good reason for getting a new pair of solar viewing glasses is there is a partial solar eclipse coming up on June 10th at sunrise for the Northeast United States, including the Chicago area. On June 9th, so a special date, that's a Tuesday, we're going to have Sky Observers Hangout the night before to tell you how to see it if you are in a part of the country that is actually going to see it. Not all of the United States will see it. But if you want to get a pair of those solar viewing glasses now, get them now so you have time to get them before June 9th, or sorry, June 10th. And you'll be ready to go when that happens. We'll put a link to the chat, to a link in the chat to a company that we have used previously that we like to get those solar viewing glasses. And those glasses are great for viewing the sun anytime. So, yeah. Adriana, do we have any questions from folks that we need to answer before we go on to some cool art?
Well, John asks, will anyone be observing at Stonehenge? Not I. Probably not us, unfortunately, this year. Somebody else said, this is just... Onis Taro says, I will get hit by a car if I stand on Irving Park facing east. The sidewalk. The sidewalk. Don't stand in the middle of the street. The sidewalk will do it. It's close enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me a good laugh.
Yes, please do not get in the middle of any street unless it is actually built for you to do that, like a safe pedestrian median or something like that. So yes, be careful. Be careful. That's good.
Excellent. Oh, somebody asks, I'd love to know if there are any star viewing parties that might start up after things get a little safer. Oof. It's going to be a while before we know exactly what's going to be going on, just because this has been such a difficult situation to predict. Every time we have tried to plan ahead for something, we end up being wrong. So
yeah, it's actually quite a conversation going on in the planetarium community and in the amateur community as to how to hold star parties safely. Not only because you are physically like 6 inches away from someone when you're showing them how to use a telescope, but also when your eyeball is up to the telescope and then the next person comes up and puts their eyeball on the telescope. it's just stuff to have to worry about like that, but it's really the physical proximity between the person running the telescope and the person looking through the telescope. So there have been some folks who've been trying things out, but as things get safer around the country, when people feel safe to actually take those telescopes out, then you can start to look around, especially to our local amateur astronomy community friends. Um, Lake County Astronomical Society, Skokie Valley Astronomers, Fox Valley Astronomical Society, Naperville Astronomical Association, the Chicago Astronomical Society. Those folks do have telescope viewing, just not right now. So just check their websites, keep checking. When they feel safe enough to take them out, you'll be the first one to know if you go on their website and check it out.
That is solid advice. So let's go ahead and keep talking about structures that frame the sun in interesting ways. So if you know where sunrise or sunset is going to happen, then you can find or construct a structure to frame either the sunrise or the sunset. This is something that people have done for millennia. For example, Stonehenge. Here in Chicago, aside from east-west streets, there are some deliberate constructions that incorporate positions of the sun at sunrise and sunset. And two of these are at the Adler Planetarium itself. So let's take a look.
Yes. So first, our very own Dome Observatory is featured in this picture right here. So in 2014, we built a multi-purpose space below the main telescope room. So where you see that funky shaped roof on the top, there's a little stairway there down to the right, and you can go downstairs. There is a lower level there. If you have visited the observatory in the past, you may have been in that room, and if it's been a while, you may not have actually seen it. But as part of that build out effort, 4 window openings were cut into the concrete in this multi-purpose room space. So there we go. So there is a set of the windows there. The southeastern facing windows shown here match the solar sunrise direction on the winter solstice. The northeast facing windows, there we go. So those are the far windows right here. I think you can see my cursor. The northeast facing windows match the solar sunrise direction on the summer solstice. And if you look carefully in the next image, you can kind of see it in this one, but you can see it better in this one. If you look at the lighter colored floor tile there in the bottom of the picture, the lighter colored floor material matches the rectangle of light coming in through the windows on the solstice date. So they actually built the solstice into the floor material in the building. Now, just outside the observatory, and this is what our friend John was referring to when he said Stonehenge. I think he might have meant this room too, but this is also right nearby. Sorry, just outside the observatory, just to the south of the Adler Planetarium main building, you may have seen a stone sculpture. This is an art installation by Brazilian artists Denise Milan and Ari Perez. And I'm going to quote directly from the Public Art in Chicago website. So quoting directly from that website, America's courtyard is, quote, composed of stone blocks of varying colors and origins. America's courtyard is a tribute to the ethnic diversity of America. The installation was designed to be modular, allowing the sculpture to be reorganized in relation to its surroundings. The Arena of Stones was originally located near the Art Institute of Chicago, but was later moved to a permanent location on the lawn of the Adler Planetarium. Here, the sculpture was reconfigured to resemble a spiral-shaped galaxy. Artists Ari Perez and Denise Milan worked in conjunction with Adler archaeoastronomer Phyllis Pitluga to orient the sculpture to mark the sun's passage through the seasonal equinoxes. This is the north-south line, and I'm going to not quote for a second. This is the north-south line here. So you can see the Adler Planetarium building in the background. All right. The 4 pathways in the centerpiece correspond to the points on the horizon where the sun reaches, there we go, the equinox, sunrise, and sunset locations. So you can see that they're at 90 degrees to each other, right?
Yeah.
And if you then are there and you're at the middle of the sculpture, there is an avenue of stones. You can see the stones are kind of moved apart from each other a little bit. That is the location of the summer solstice sunrise. And you'll have to trust me that the summer solstice sunset is in that direction, because while there are no leaves on the trees right here, there are in the summertime. So you actually can see sunset from that location. But you get the idea, I think. All right. Then we've got the winter solstice sunrise. So again, look for the avenue of stones there from the middle. And it's, if you take a look, the other stones, they overlap each other kind of from the view. Those are the only directions where you can see that pathway cut through. And then again, you'll have to trust us that winter solstice sunset is in that direction. I know Phyllis got her theodolite out and actually measured all of this, so it should be right. All right.
Very cool.
So there you go. That is America's courtyard. And then Colleen is going to link in the chat the page on the Chicago Public Art website where you can actually go read more information about this. So, all right.
Very cool. That makes me want to actually wake up early enough someday to actually watch the sunrise from there, because I never quite made it at the appropriate time, just going into work. All right, so there are many other installations around the world that have deliberately been designed and built with alignments in mind. One example is the Solari Bridge in Scottsdale, Arizona. That has a summer and a winter solstice alignment. So alignments for both of those. Colleen can send out the link to this page as well, so you can review it at your convenience after the show.
So I'm going to just scroll through some pictures so you can see this. The description, there's a description if you scroll down about how this bridge actually works. So we will leave that to you to read over. But
the sun goes through those two columns, right?
Yeah,
you got
it
those
does.
big
Yeah.
yeah.
At noon, at solar noon. It lines up.
Very cool.
And so the solar noon is at a different time, depending on the day. And so, yeah, I just love that it's got the sun incorporated into this bridge, which makes sense. It's Scottsdale, Arizona. They got a lot of sun. So, but I thank Adriana for finding this bridge originally, because I was not aware of it. And so thank you for finding this. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's been cool to learn about it.
So back in September, for that show, if you watched that show, if you watched it since then, if you haven't watched it and you're going to, we were asked by a viewer during that show if there could be a feature on Mars that might create an equinox Marshenge.
I love that question.
Intrigued us. This intrigued us quite a bit. You probably remember, Adriana, we had a conversation afterwards. They're like, I have no idea if that might work. Geza went on a search, and the answer is probably. He identified a location. So let me go to that. So give me just a second. I need to clear up my screen here a little bit just to kind of clear things out a little. So there we go. Okay, there we got the blank screen, and then we're going to go to the next slide. And there we go. Okay, so it's a location to the east of Olympus Mons. So this is Olympus Mons right here. So that's the largest volcano in the solar system. And just to the east, so approximately right here, you can see my good cursor circle drawing skills, which are not good circle drawing skills.
Stunning, beautiful, perfect. I love it.
Thank you. It's red. That's the best thing I can do to connect it to Mars. Anyway, here is a close-up from the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. And we're talking about this area right in here. Or actually, probably could do kind of that area right in there too. And there it is, a close-up right there. So yes, that is facing east. The sides of this little channel are about 200 feet high, and the width is about 500 feet. It's not quite like an urban Chicago canyon, but hey, it's a good candidate, close enough. So 200 feet high, it's about 20 stories, right? So not too bad. The sun would appear inside that canyon notch when it set. And so if you were standing and facing west, in case you were wondering exactly when this phenomenon would occur, spring equinox on Mars just happened on Earth equivalent date, February 7th, 2021. The fall equinox on Mars is on February 24th of 2022. And the next spring equinox date is December 26th, Earth equivalent date, 2022. So pack your bags. Let's all go. What do you think? You think we
I
can
love
go?
it. I would so much love to see Marshenge.
Anyway, so that was prompted by a viewer's question who we did not know the answer to that. And we went, I don't know, let's try to find something. So that's why we love your questions. Speaking of which, do we have any more questions that viewers would like us to focus on?
Let's see. Looking through. Oh, Jeff says that the streets of Cusco, Peru, as well as the site Machu Picchu, are supposed to be aligned with solar events. I have not been there. Michelle, have you?
I have not.
We cannot describe to you what it is like because we have not been there, but I bet it's cool.
But yes, there are solstice alignments, especially winter solstice alignments for Machu Picchu specifically.
Very cool. I guess I feel like the way to find out, Jeff, is to go, and then you can take that trip and then let us know.
Anybody else?
Because I want to hear about it.
Yeah,
unless somebody else is in Peru. But if you guys know of any other installations or constructions that draw attention to or incorporate the equinoxes or solstices, share those in the chat. Tell us about them so we can look them up too, because I always love hearing about them.
Yep. I mean, we know Newgrange and Stonehenge, possibly, and various others. Possibly. Hey, let us know. Yep. So, all right. Shall we go on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. As many of you know by now, if you are fans of Sky Observers Hangout, and who isn't, you know that periodically we show you objects from our historic collection, the Adler's historic collection, that connects to our topic. When I was thinking about what to show you, so a little behind the scenes, Adriana and I trade off on writing scripts. So we both agree on topics and we both talk about what we want to do. And then we go off and we write the scripts and then we bring them back together. So I did this one. But I wasn't sure what to show. And then I settled on, an astrolabe would be a good idea. But I wasn't able to show you in person a historic astrolabe because that would be impossible. But this is a modern astrolabe right here. I'm going to move that piece out of the way. Oops, it keeps falling into place. There we go. This one in particular was designed by Adler's former curator, Roderick Webster. An astrolabe is an instrument that is used, among other things, for navigation. And these were beautiful instruments. This one was, again, is made just a few decades ago. But one other use for an astrolabe is to find the time of sunrise and sunset. So great thing to do if it's near the time of the equinox and you want to figure out when to go out and see Chicagohenge or Evanston-Henge or wherever you are. There are ways to do it. Don't ask me how to do it. I don't know. It is complicated. And so I leave that to you to figure out. But there are many websites out there about it. And as Adriana and I love to say, there's a YouTube video for that, I'm sure. Sure. Anyway.
Awesome. So you can also make an astrolabe yourself. Colleen is going to link to a page from the European Southern Observatory where you can input your location or a nearby major location, and the site system will generate a set of different pieces of an astrolabe. So you can print them onto paper or cardstock. And for different pieces, you might want to use transparency film if you have it and you want to get fancy. And the site includes instructions for various things you can do, including finding sunrise and sunset times. So Colleen can go ahead and link to that Make Your Own Astrolabe site in just a second.
I mean, the bit that I know about astrolabes is you hold it, you sight the sun, or sorry, not the sun. You sight a star, a bright star, through this bit right here. Very and cool. Then you figure out how high it is above the eastern or western horizon on the edge. And then you get that number of degrees and you turn it over and you sight that bright star will correspond to one of these points, which is really hard to do when I'm staring at a camera and a view of myself trying to figure out what I'm looking at on the screen. There we go. So each one of these corresponds to a bright star, and then you can put how high it was above whichever horizon on the astrolabe and then read off the information there. So anyway, you can do it for the sun. You just don't look through here to do it. But like I said, there are ways to do it, which is pretty neat. Now, we have some examples of ways that you can connect what you learn here at Sky Observers Hangout with observations and art. We've told you about observing the sun. We've told you about some art installations. In the September Sky Observers Hangout, Adriana showed a picture that she took along the shores of Lake Michigan. So let me go to that. And give me just a second. There we go.
Treehenge.
So where were you when you took this one?
That's in Edgewater, just right on the lake.
And that was that sunrise? That must have been sunrise.
Yeah, that was sunrise. Sunrise.
That's
yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
So you can make your own tree henge.
You totally can make your own tree henge. Just find 2 trees. That's all you need.
Easy.
Whatever strikes your fancy. Now, this one was sent in after our show, and this is one of our colleagues, Alan. He and his daughter went out, and they took this picture just off the street. He didn't go in the middle of the road either. So this is the equinox sunset. But imagine it would be a little bit better. Of course, the road may not exactly be east-west as well. So it'd be a little bit better if you were in the middle. Just don't go in the middle of the street. That wouldn't be good. Anyway, thank you, Alan, for sending us that picture.
Very
and
good.
We've got this one.
It's Adriana Henge.
Adriana, where was this sitting when you took this picture?
This is on my windowsill. I tried to make my own little Stonehenge. The idea was that the middle one would be for the equinoxes when it is east-west, and then the other 2 would be for the solstices, one for the winter solstice and one for the summer solstice. But they are still not all aligned because I am waiting to do it on the actual day of the solstices.
There you go.
I still have to do the summer one.
And what did you make Adriana Henge out of?
It's really just clay. It was not anything fancier than that. Cool. So you can really make it. You can make one out of anything.
And our last picture, we do have it made out of almost anything. Could you please describe to our viewers the paragraph before I switch over to the picture?
Yes, we have alluded to, as we've alluded to in the description for this show, you can use any kind of human-created materials to frame your equinox and solstice and sunrise, sunset alignments, including, in this case, a small slab of chocolate, a graham cracker, and a marshmallow. Here for your consideration is S'mores Henge. By far the best henge on the entire planet. You heard it here, folks.
Yep. S'more Henge is the best henge. So we thank our colleague Sarah for sending us this one. So you can make your henge out of absolutely anything, including s'mores.
Absolutely anything. I do want to call out, because we did get some cool responses here. I did not know about this, so thank you for telling us, John and Geza, for confirming. There is something on the west end of the 606 where you can see some kind of alignment. That's pretty cool. And then Linda says Woodhenge at Cahokia Mounds, Illinois. It's west of Monk's Mound, which is the largest man-made earthen mound in North America. The placement of the posts mark the summer and winter solstices. Very cool. I didn't know about that.
I can guarantee they're telling the truth about the western end of the 606. We have done scopes in the city there a few times. So that is the western trailhead, and where they have, they call it the observatory. There's no telescope there. It is there for observing the sky, but that is facing directly west. So it is great to go there on the sunset of the equinoxes to be able to see that setting due west down the old railroad trestle. So there you go.
Very cool.
Any others?
That's it, except for Angela. I agree, S'mores Henge is the winner. And Steve says, short shelf life with edibles, pish posh, just make another S'mores Henge. There is always more s'more supplies.
That is true. That is true. So, well, we have a homework assignment for all of you. Send us your pictures of your equinox alignment efforts. You noticed we put many images into this show that we got sent by colleagues and that Adriana had taken. So we want to see your solstice or your equinox henges, whatever alignments you happen to see. Let us know to our social media feeds using the hashtag lookup, and send that to any of our social media feeds. Colleen will be on the lookout for those. If you don't follow us already, links to those are already in the YouTube description for this show. And don't forget to seek out those public art installations in your town. You may find some that you didn't know about that are aligned to the sky where you are.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are interested in community science efforts related to buildings and monuments, our friends at Zooniverse have launched an architecture project called World Architecture Unlocked that you might be interested in. So if you want to help transcribe information on images of buildings and monuments from all over the world, work that will make over 1 million images searchable and usable in research projects, head to the link that Colleen is going to put in the chat in just a second. Your work will help aid researchers worldwide in the future.
And I want to add one more thing that we just got hot off the presses. If you are interested in astrolabes and other instruments like that, there are many connections to Islamic astronomy, especially in the Adler Planetarium's collection. Astrolabes is one example, but there are others. Hot off the presses, our April Google Arts and Culture exhibit will be about Islamic astronomy. And let me read off the description that I just got about an hour ago. This exhibit will highlight the important contributions of Islamic scholars and instrument makers to the historical development of astronomy and more generally modern science, using images of instruments, manuscripts, and other materials from the collections of the Adler Planetarium. It will also highlight the importance of this historical legacy, its study, and accessibility to wider audiences in today's world by featuring up to 4 personalities from varied backgrounds who are engaged with researching, displaying, and communicating the history of Islamic astronomy. And that will be guest curated by Dr. Taha Arslan, and that is a visiting scholar at the University of Oxford, United Kingdom. So that will be coming out in April. I don't know if we have the exact posting date yet, but I wanted to give you that description because I just got it and I was asked to share it with you. And so be on the lookout for that in April, coming up with Google Arts and Culture. All right.
Awesome. I do have one more question for you, Michelle.
Yes.
What about Moonhenge?
Oh, we had that question in September, and we were so pleased to find out that yes, there is a moonhenge, and that is when the full moon would rise in the direction of due east. So I'm going to go to, let's see, the next full moon. Adriana, we're going to do this on the fly because I didn't dial it up. Could you please look up the date of the next full moon?
Yes.
You'd think I'd know it by now, but I don't. And so while she's doing that, I'm going back to Starry Night, and I'm going to share my screen in just a second. I just at least want to get it to the right date before I start sharing.
Let's see.
The short answer is yes, you can do a moonhenge, but we just need to get it on the right date.
Gosh, what month is it? March.
March. It is March.
March 28th.
Thank you. All right. So let's see, and give me just a second. And whoops. PM and hang on. Give me a second.
No problem.
Give me a second. Okay. So let me go and share my screen. Let me get to
a strange piece of information that I just learned.
Yes.
All of the moons have different names, and apparently the March full moon is called the worm moon, which is just not what I expected.
It can be, yes. Yeah, that is one of the names.
It's bizarre.
April, I think, is it April? or May. One of those is the pink moon, but not due to the color of the moon. It's due to the color of the flowers, phlox flowers, PHLOX flowers that bloom at about that time. So there you go.
Neat.
Yep. All right. So this is March 28th, and I've got this set for moonrise, and this is almost exactly due east. So look for the full moon rising. So that is a little after 7 p.m. Chicago time. And so, yeah, you can get that moonhenge effect. So there you
So
go.
is that's going to be rising due east also?
That's almost due east. It's
Almost due east. Okay, pretty close.
slightly south of east. Due east is a 90-degree azimuth, and I've got the cursor over the moon. So this is 91 degrees. So
Okay,
it's
so
close.
it sounds like maybe stand on the northern sidewalk of the street and you'll catch it.
There you go. Because you don't want to be standing in the middle of the street.
You don't want to be standing in the middle of the street.
Yep. So this is where standing on the northern end of the or northern side of the street is good. So there you go.
Excellent.
Moonhenge. Yes.
Awesome.
Right. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up for tonight?
I don't think so. I think that's all.
All right. Well, we hope you got you all excited about this. We hope you're ready to go when Chicagohenge occurs in a couple weeks, or Henge wherever you're from, or wherever you're from, Henge. Be sure to keep sending us your photos and observations in our social media feeds. We love to hear from you. We love to know that you're out there connecting with the sky and how you're doing that. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting our programming. We're happy to share this time with you.
We are. And can you tell us how we did? So we'd love to get some feedback from you. Colleen is going to link a feedback survey. It'll only take a really short time to fill it out. And if you filled it out before, you can still go ahead and fill it out again so we can keep track of our improvements. It helps make our shows even better. And you can send us suggestions for future show topics as well. You'll also be able to get to it in a link in tonight's program description. So if the chat closes before you can click on it, no worries. It is in the description. Just access it there.
Our next show will be Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. Central Time. And the topic is a roundup of the spring sky. We know you all like seeing our seasonal roundup of what you can see coming up in the next season. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That is located right below this video, more than likely. Give us a thumbs up if you like watching us. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Please keep looking up. Good night.
Good night, everyone.